All right, traders, good afternoon. This is Christian from Hertz Tribeca Trade Group, and this is your end of day recap for Thursday, September 10th. So, yesterday, nice bounce day. Today, looked like we might get a little bit of follow through today, especially in the morning. We were kind of ramping into the open. And then we completely get a turnaround. So I went. This was a little bit of a reversal and a reversal. Well, maybe one too many reversals in there, but it was definitely a head fake. I kind of got caught into this. I'll go over my, what I did for the day for trading wise, which I'm not happy with, but it is what it is. Sometimes you just have a bad day, and it is what it is. There's some important levels today, and I'll explain, why I did what I did with some of my positions, but. Let's start with the direction that we should go in, which is we start kind of with the daily chart and then go over the 1 hour and the 5 minute. So what we could see here is that we were basically, today was either going to be the make or break day. We were either going to turn and start to head back higher, which we started to do that in the morning, and just could not get there, and we closed back in value. One of the things that I thought was suspect yesterday was that we were not able to close above value for the day, so we tried and we failed. Now, did we lose anything here? Well, we still have the 50-day moving average here in S&P, and I think it's just kind of showing true to form right now for September. Septembers are just difficult months to trade. I've seen this a couple times now in my P&L where, I've had a pretty good spring, summer, and then, September just becomes a little bit more difficult. So remember last year, June was also difficult. Sorry, this is this year. If we look at last year, you could see as we got into the beginning of September, it's kind of the same thing as what we saw in the beginning of this September, and then we stalled and then just kind of slowly broke lower, which was a little bit probably. I'm not sure if it's going to be more painful or not from what we experienced last September. So just keep that in mind that these Septembers are very difficult. They're challenging. My P&L was not so good last September, and and then we had a great end of the year last year. So I'm hoping that this kind of straightens itself out one way or another in the next couple days. The next days, weeks. And then possibly we have a good end of the year. That's kind of what I'm thinking right now. And let's fast forward back to today. So we've got some support here, which is the 50-day moving average. However, we break that, and we've got the bottom of value. So these things are not, this is not like near, in terms of getting down to the bottom of value. That's all the way down at 3268. So, even though we haven't broken this 50-day moving average, I still have concerns with it. Also, just for this week, so here's what I kind of realized last night when I was going through some charts last night, is that we have not been able to, every time we've bounced, we haven't really been able to kind of turn the short-term trend, right? I'm on the 1 hour chart, so this is very short-term, right? So when we bounced last Friday, of course, that was canceled very quickly. We bounced in the beginning of the week, and then we had another washout. We had a nice bounce yesterday from low levels, right, after taking out this version point of control. But you could see, so then we started to go again here, and this is right, so this is a lower high, lower high, lower high, and then another one today, almost right where we needed to turn, we failed again. So keep in mind, this is short term, and for now, you just kind of have to let this play out a bit, right? Because we did not, if we turned the corner, it would have been a different story. But 3390 is the level that I'm watching, obviously for the rest of the week, because we'll get a new value area for next week. But that's showing pretty true to form. And next, I would say in the immediate term, watch the week's lows, and then if we break that, we've got this 3225. So 3225 shows up basically all the way down here. So it's messy, right? If we break this week's lows. So I could tell you I don't really have a strong feeling either way right now. Oh, and then the other thing to just kind of show you too is, we did have a chance today. This is something that I had mentioned. We had mentioned, around 10 o'clock this morning. We basically hit today's resistance. Now, of course, it's just the value area for today. So we could have easily gotten through it too. But it just shows you that the value areas that we're using really kind of help with some levels to watch. And then it became kind of similar to what we saw on the 1 hour chart. Every move back that we saw bounce was a lower high again, right? So we used the 1 hour just a second ago and talked about the last few days, but even today, right? These big red bars, which I thought originally was on a Brexit headline, and I'm like, okay, well maybe we can kind of recoup that. And we stalled here, right? So only retracing about 50% of that move. Took out the lows, retraced a small move again, retested bottom of value, and then a big failure, right? So the technicals, like I heard this on, I think it was on CNBC earlier. I'm not going to mention the commentator, but they said that the technicals don't matter. Of course they do. They're giving you a lot of information just based on looking at the 1 hour and the 5 minute, where we stalled for the day, and then every time that we try to bounce, we didn't take back any ground, right? It was a futile attempt. So I think the technicals are kind of giving you a perfect roadmap. I know it gets a little bit crazier once volatility shows up, but it is what it is. The cues, to kind of go over what happened here too, and I even drew this trend line because I was watching the cues closely for the day because they were the outperformer this morning. They were up about 1%, and same concept here, right? Big move back into value, trying to bounce, fail again, and I put this trend line, and then it was a slippery slope. Once we broke value, nasty, and then of course we couldn't recoup anything. So, what I generally look for, we talked about this a couple days ago, is that using these moving averages that I have on my charts are really good because believe it or not, they really kind of capture the short-term trend. They tell you if the buyers are basically coming back. Notice the 20 period moving average, how it came into play here. Almost got over it here, but we're not seeing what I like to see. What I like to see here is like full green candles, like you're seeing these full red candles. Right, the sellers have control. When every time we try to fight back and there are these like long wicks, that the sellers have control. So that's what I kind of think for now for the cues. And I did not go over the daily chart and the 1 hour but there's going to be similar concepts here. This one, we're right back to the 50-day moving average, and if we break the 50-day moving average, then I would say watch value area low, which is 265. And again, so we're hanging on by a thread here. 1 hour, similar concept, but we this is a different looking picture than S&P. Here we did manage to kind of make to kind of get out of this area, but I would call this a failure. The fact that we just got over here for a couple hours and then broke. So again, very tricky to trade this stuff, and I'll go over my trades in just a second. Also, performance. You could see. This was a reversal of 3% from the open. That's just nasty. And similarly in the other indices too, S&P finished down 2.2% from the open. Just nasty stuff. The bonds were up this morning, but again, I don't think, for me, right, everybody's different, but I don't think that the bonds, like if I saw that the bonds were up like over 1%, I would say yes, that's pretty much risk off. They were up 0.5%, but I'll tell you, I still don't really see a trade in this TLT. I think it's just moving sideways. You could see, for the value area for the week, we're basically just inside value. We're also inside value on for the daily chart too. So I don't really see much going on here in bonds other than just moving sideways and a little bit of risk off feel with them rallying today. Let's talk a little bit about the VIX too. But yeah, I mean, look at the sectors. Look at the energy names again. This is really, if I think if these energy names continue to break down like this, we're going to have some more issues with, the banks are probably going to go lower. Maybe that is a trade that to think about here to short, which I haven't really been doing too much shorting, but you could see that this does look like a break. I thought I had this drawn. Maybe I have it drawn. Yeah, on XLF, right? There's a failure at the 200. So if you're looking for a short idea, why not short something that's weak? And I think the banks are in trouble here if we continue to see energy moving down. They do have why? Because they do have exposure to the energy sector. So I would watch out for that, and could be a nice short opportunity. Maybe something that I put on or think about putting on tomorrow. Really haven't put on like a short sector trade in a while, but I'll tell you that's interesting to kind of look at. But yeah, this was nasty too. Software was up about 2% this morning, and that reversed 2.6%. I mean, that's nasty. That's a nasty move. Tech in itself too, down 3.6% from the open. So if you kind of got screwed up with this stuff today, don't. I would not. Beat yourself up about it. This is not an easy. These are not easy things to trade when you have this big of a reversal and the market fakes you out like from what it was doing this open. I would just kind of chalk it up to a nasty day, and for me, I have to respect price action and what it's telling me. So I did unwind a bunch of trades. Before I get into my trades, I just want to go over what the VIX. Interesting that the VIX is not. We talked about in yesterday's video that it might not just go straight down. It's interesting that the VIX was not very. I would think, given the price action and how nasty it was today, that we would be back to like 35 in the VIX. Kind of testing those highs from last week, but we didn't. So maybe that's a little bit of the silver lining, is that you just have to kind of make it through this and see if the 50-day moving averages hold or if we do break the 50-day moving average at the bottom of values hold, and then we can kind of go from there. But this was, and I think for the most part has been a bit of a head scratcher for the last couple days, not to see those VIX go higher. The VXN also was down on the day. So we saw this 2 days ago, and that was a bullish divergence, and we ended up seeing the market bounce really hard the following day, right? This was 2 days ago in here where the VXN finished lower when the Qs finished lower. So that was a bullish divergence. Is it a bullish? I mean, it's showing it's another divergence today. So we'll watch out for a bounce tomorrow. I'm not carrying much risk if we do bounce, but it is what it is. And then the VVIX, which is the VIX for the VIX itself, was also down on the day. So rather than try to think of explanations, right, for why this is doing this, kind of just take the price action for what it is, right? Also, what I think has been concerning too is to see what's going on here with this McClellan Summation Index, which has been breaking down, right? That's not what you want to see when you're adding risk. You want to see nice healthy breadth. You don't want to see new lows expand, right? That kind of tells you. One of the phrases that I use today is, I will usually trade a little bit more short-term options when the wind is at your back. Like yesterday, if you were buying calls and some things, right, the market breadth was strong, and I would say the wind was more at your back yesterday. Today, if you're buying calls, the wind was in your face, right, because breadth is negative, price action negative, right? So it's an important concept in trading, right, to basically trade with the trend and trade with the wind at your back. And today, you could see, new 4-week lows. Look at them all, right, in the NASDAQ, 16 versus new highs. 52-week lows were not a big thing. We actually saw more highs today, especially in the Dow today. But this is kind of neutral for the S&P and for NASDAQ. But yeah, short-term new lows are really picking up versus new highs. Very, very little. So, so to kind of sum it up, and I try to give you my practices, and I try to kind of practice what I preach as possible. So I'll get to the bottom. I'm saving the bottom line here for a second, but you can see I had a very good day. You know, for in the first basically half hour of the day. This Beyond worked really well. This was a follow through from yesterday. I think this still held up, right? Move above, the value area. This closed above value yesterday, and I unwound my calls yesterday, but I went into some stock. This was a nice winning trade for me this morning. And we saw some, momentum call buying in this thing today too. So again, that's kind of like like I was saying, the wind at your back, right? When you see a lot of call buying, a lot of this call buying creates short-term momentum. So worked very well. I put on, and then I had a lot of false moves. This is killer when this happens. This SE, I was waiting for this to trigger this week. It triggered. Right, nothing wrong with that. Got into value, and then it completely got washed out. So I got stopped out of this one. Horrible. I also got stopped out. Maybe I should have traded this one stock instead of options, but same thing here, right? This bar did not close, so that's on me for not waiting to this 1 hour bar to close. But Vive is another name that I like to play on dips, Viva Software, and this got crunched. So did my calls. So again, it stinks when this happens. But I'll tell you, losses happen, right? And it's one of those things where you can't escape all losses, right? No matter how good of a trader you are. What you can control is your risk. So what did I do? As we get to the end of the day, I just kind of stopped myself out of a bunch of things and said, hey, this was a point of, going back to this S&P. This was a point of, something where I wanted to see this market kind of get a foothold. And again, I'm looking at the short term, but I don't want September to turn out to be a disaster for me and my P&L. So, I have to sacrifice. And basically, what I did was I basically got myself almost back to cash in my trading account. Again, a couple days of losses, which I did have at the end of last week, and then I had a nice day of gains. I don't want to give back all of yesterday's gains. So, this was a situation where I don't want to give back my gains from yesterday. So, and as well, we know that September is going to be a tough month, or is traditionally a tough month. I don't want to, basically torpedo my month. So, that's the whole name of the game, right? Is when this market is showing you things that you don't like to see. I don't like to press, and I hate to use the phrase because I hate to do this to kind of run away a little bit, but the best traders out there realize when the climate is not right. So I will give this market a chance again, tomorrow to kind of prove me wrong. And maybe it holds the 50-day moving average. Maybe that divergence in VXN will prove to be something. But for now, we got plenty of month to go for September. It's the 10th, so we're only through a third of the month. And I think that you have to protect your capital when the market is giving you these funky type days like this and nasty day. Again, I'm mostly playing things to the long side, and because things are in an uptrend. If things start to break down, like the KRE, I might actually throw a bearish trade on. And if market breadth continues to break down, here's the advanced decline line as well. Which again, these are all things that are not looking right. So this, I mean, this doesn't update for today until later tonight. You can see this is as of 9/9 on the top of your screen. But notice, like the big bounce that we got yesterday. Look at what it did for breath yesterday. Not very much, right? So it's not telling you, a lot of bullish things here. It's not showing you that, what I would look for is for breath to be moving higher, even though the price action is kind of lousy a bit, So, and right now we're just not seeing that. So we're seeing breath looks like it wants to break down further. So until we start to until this washes out, then I think for now I'm playing defense, right? And as we know in football, I like to use sports analogies. Defense wins championships, and that's kind of what I'm looking to do. I'm looking to make sure my year is a great year, and not give back, a lot of the hard-earned gains from this year. So that's the tact, and every once in a while there's going to be a painful day like this, but like I said, the goal is not to give back. I had a really good day yesterday, and I gave back about 50% of yesterday's gains, which is really, you kind of have to chuckle at, because I was up very nicely today. So, that's the best I could say for the day is it is what it is. And you just kind of move on from bad days. And if you have to kind of move more to cash, like I did today, you know, that's fine. And you could see a lot of the trades that I got out of, like this SNPS, right? That was a trade that I put on. Was it yesterday morning? I think it was yesterday morning. It's still a profitable trade. I just gave back. This thing went up to. I had a target out at 210. I think it got to 209 today. So that's the story. And this Teradyne was a nice one too. But I think I made the right decision. I'll watch that. There is a decent call buyer in this, but that's not showing me any. I like to play this name on dips too, but hey, if it's not going to come back, maybe the 200-day moving average down here might be a better place for that. All right, guys, so that's it. I wish I could say that I nailed it today and sold everything on the highs of the day, but like I said, it's part of the game, and we got a lot of month left, and I'm looking for better trading opportunities and better price action. And meanwhile, protect your capital. All right. Of course, videos for information purposes only, not giving out any advice or recommendations, just telling you what I'm doing. Have a great night, everybody, and hopefully there's a good game on tonight. See you guys tomorrow.